The Webley 455 with a short barrel, 4.5 inches I think, which was common issue to naval personnel. I don't know why the Imperial officers had a revolver with that short a barrel.
Such trouble.
When Wallace was going back and forth to school, there was a little terrier dog at one of the houses that used to harass him. Wallace was annoyed at this and decided he was going to shoot that dog the next time it came out to chase him. He went home, got his dad's revolver, went back past the house, but on this occasion the little dog stayed on the porch, didn't bark, would not come out to chase Wallace. So Wallace walked across the lawn up to the house and shot the little dog on his veranda. There was difficulty with the local policeman, but Oliver managed to get it quieted up and there were no charges laid.
It's a long way to Tipperary, it's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, to the sweetest girl I know.
Okay, so tell me the two stories about how Oliver got his revolver. Graham, you first.
Well, my story was that Oliver was the rank below colonel, and several weeks before the end of the First World War, someone shot the colonel in the back. Oliver sent a communique by dispatch rider to headquarters, informing headquarters that the colonel had been shot and that he had assumed the rank. The dispatch rider presented this to the higher-ups, and one of them wrote on the back of the communique, "Very good, carry on." And the dispatch rider brought it back, so Oliver got the insignias for a colonel off of the uniform of the dead colonel and had them sewn on his. And he then bunked down in a bell tent with several of the British colonels, and they all took their revolvers out and put them under their pillows. And in the morning, when they woke up, one of the revolvers was missing. Lawrence and I have seen that revolver several times in Oliver's home. That's the way I heard the story. Lawrence has heard it differently.
Dad, how did you hear the story?
Well, Uncle Oliver told me this story. It occurred on the troop ship running between England and France near the beginning of the war. There was the troops with Uncle Oliver from Canada. There was the troops from Great Britain under their officers. The officers from the two groups fraternized a certain amount. The Imperial officers, when they bedded down at night, slept on the open deck. They formed a circle with their feet towards the center. They put their sidearms in a pile between the circle of their feet. Uncle Oliver says that he came up quietly after they were asleep, stepped across the circle, took a revolver, stuffed it into his tunic, and went out. He said that the next morning he was listening to the sad story of one of the Imperial officers about how you couldn't trust the ranks because one of them had clearly come and stolen his revolver. Uncle Oliver sympathized with the man and chuckled. That's the story Uncle Oliver told me about how he got the revolver.
Goodbye, Piccadilly, farewell, let us swear. It's a long, long way to Tipperary, but
he wouldn't talk about any conflicts in the work First World War. He said that he was with a company of engineers, and that what that meant was he was among the men who were assigned to building privies and clearing space for tents. He made it sound quite unglamorous. I don't know what the circumstances were. He had a wound during the First World War that wasn't life-threatening, but he had to take time off to go to the hospital. He told us this story because of the way that his fellow patients teased him about how much it was going to hurt when the stitches were taken out. And Father enjoyed the irony of the fact that the surgeon got the stitches out without Father realizing that they had been withdrawn. That's the only reason I know that he was wounded on one occasion. I don't know what the wound was or how it was inflicted.
It was self-inflicted. It was an axe in which he whacked his foot.
No.
And he ended up with that big, huge bunion on the side of his foot. And when he was in the hospital, they happened to do an eye exam on him and realized he was darn near blind and there's no way he could shoot a rifle. And that's why he ended up strictly doing the engineering work, as they called it. Father also sent all of his pay home to his mother and essentially ate in the military messes, and it was on his return trip home that these two fellas talked to him and found out he had this money, and they suckered him into going into the ladder business in Toronto, and they were a pair of shysters, and he had to end up buying them out.
it's a long, long way to Tipperary, but my